Hello, good afternoon. I'm Mathew Thomas Philip, founder of Thomas Philip. I do sessions on Friday to talk about law firm management. Principally, hopefully I can share my mistakes with young lawyers who are intending to set up their own practice, and as a way to share and maybe learn from each other. I take questions from very enthusiastic people in front of me. So the first question is by Sean.
Hi, Matthew. Matthew, can you hear me? All right. I'm just wondering why you are putting associates in charge of business units in your firm. Like, what is the point and what is your objective in doing that?
So there are a couple of principles that I've worked on why I think associates should be in charge of business units. And the first principle, I know that a lot of lawyers just hate to talk about a law firm as a business. But I don't think we can escape from the fact that a law firm is a business and it's got to be run as a business. And I don't think we're immune from general business principles that apply universally all over the world, right? So one of the things that I one of the things that I believe in, one of the principles I believe in, which is foundation for this, is with regard to partners. Partners, and there's this phrase, which is not something I invented, it's a universal phrase, that particularly with firms, that you have to work on your business, not in your business. So when you work on your business, you look at your business from a different perspective, that it needs to run as a business, as opposed to being in your business where you're the one actually in it doing every single thing. So the first thing I'm doing about associates being in charge of business units is a message to my own partners that you need to work on your business and not in your business. And in that respect, there are two businesses. One, they themselves are a business unit. So they work, they counsel, they go to court, they advise, they give strategic advice. So that's part of the work that they do. But they also run a business which needs to be separated from themselves. So that's the first principle. The idea that partners need to work on a business. So it started not with associates but with partners. If you look at the organizational hierarchy, you'll see that there is no partners there at all. And the partners in this firm are now being taught that you have to work on your business. It's a separate entity than yourself. That's the first principle I'm working on. The second principle is that if you've gone to law school, you've done the 4 years, and what has happened is we are caught in this time frame which is dictated by other people, not yourself, not your own capability. So when people say it takes you 5 years to be able to do this, it's someone else determining the timeline for you. It's not a reflection of your own capability. So for me, I have a choice. So I can say, well, there are certain people who have the capability to run a business unit, and there will be certain people. So for example, there are law firms in this country where associates became partners of middle, like really, really top-notch, good, technically sound people have become partners in 2 or 3 years in a big firm. How is that possible? Because the average timeline to be a partner will be 7 years or 8 years or 9 years, right? Then there are the outliers who made it in 2 years, cause their performance justified the firm itself to ask them to be a partner in the firm. So the function is really not about years, it's about performance. And if you evaluate why that is possible, it's because historically what that person did in law school or what he was exposed to made him ready to be made a partner in 2 years. So what I want to do is I want to say to everybody that whatever you did historically, yes, will to some extent define the skill sets that you have, but it does not have to be the determining factor. The determining factor will be opportunities. So for me personally, for the employees, in today's market, in today's organization, this firm will be much more successful if the 23 lawyers who are not partners are in fact leaders. We only have 6 partners in this firm. And if the whole organization is going to pivot on the success of these 6 partners, there's going to be a limited success. But if the firm can pivot on the leadership of 23 lawyers who are not partners, we will be able to be more successful from all aspects, and the employee who is a lawyer is also able to be more successful. You'll be surprised at your own capability. So you live in a hierarchical situation where you say, oh, that's not my problem, that's not my scope, that's not my this. And what you're actually doing is denying opportunities for you to grow. So some people are already in that mindset, oh, I don't have the skill set. Nobody is a born leader. Nobody is a born leader. You learn these things. These are traits that you learn. So when we do this, when I say associates need to lead a business team, what I'm also have to follow through is to make sure that the firm is resourced in such a way that we can provide the training for you to be the leader. And some people will struggle. Some people will find it very natural. Some people will struggle. For those who struggle, the firm will have to provide opportunities for learning. So the 2 things, one, in summary to your answer, to your question, one is, if partners continue to work in their business without looking at their business as a separate entity, they will not be able to evaluate what's our target financially, what's our growth plan, what's the growth plan. For example, if Sean is running a business unit and I'm the partner that's responsible, I'll be talking to Sean about what's your plan, how do you plan to meet your targets, how do you plan to grow, how do you plan to train your people. So that is something that will become a different perspective, and I think that's the only way. Yesterday I shared with all of you that caption about employees being empowered to become leaders. So I want to make sure that, so that means, just to finish off, that means that during your pupillage, I mean, if the law allows a person at the end of his pupillage to be admitted to the bar and to basically be allowed the license to argue cases all over, and there's no limitation, then what is the problem with allowing an associate in running a business unit? The law allows you to go all over the place. It doesn't place any limitation. It doesn't say that, oh, you can't go to the federal court unless you... So really, what we need to go back to is the pupillage period and the training that's provided for in that 9 months. It's not about photocopying. It's not about scanning. It's not just about legal research. It needs to be seriously, it needs to go back and train the pupils so that they are able to run the business unit from day one. That's a big commitment which a lot of people will find it difficult to accept. Because we live in a hierarchical world. We live in a timeline where we say pupils cannot do this, cannot do that, cannot do this. I don't agree with that. Okay? Next question.
Matthew, I think there's still this traditional view that it's the partner's job to lead a business unit. So what are your thoughts on that?
So it's about a definition of a business unit. So at the business unit, their execution. So what happens with the way we structure it is to say you're executing the work in the best possible way. You're executing the work in the best possible way that the clients are happy with the execution of the work. That leaves some scope for the partners to provide higher level leadership. Because at the end of the day, it means that the partner is focused on assisting the business unit. The partner's scope is to a higher level. So I cringe sometimes when the partners are going down to things that I feel they shouldn't be doing. The things that their associates should be doing. What is the price the partners will have to pay? They're going to spend more time in things they're not supposed to do and less time in things that they're supposed to do. So that's why it's very important for us to set up these business units at an execution level. They know that this business unit can produce the work that the client is going to be happy about, the court is going to be happy about, and yet they're like the icing on the cake where they can actually spend their time on strategic thinking, on developing and contributing. If not, they're just going to be so stuck in the executing of the work. So that's why I think if there's business unit, the partners will scale higher to a different level. Specialization, higher level specialization. 80% of our work, if you really think about it, is not rocket science. It's actually about systems. It's about methodology. It's about able to retrieve the information and putting it properly together. So it's about systems. Then that 20% hopefully is a little bit higher level thinking that the partners can provide. But if the partners are so into lower level, how are they going to elevate themselves? So in the end, the final product is everybody plays a part to lift everyone else higher. Did I answer that question? Okay, next.
Mathew. Yeah. My question is basically because now you're saying lawyers are going to be business units, right? Business unit leaders. So how do lawyers get rewarded without the need to be a partner of a law firm?
So one of the things that I believe in is that you want to be rewarded in financially. You want to be rewarded, and you also be wanting to be rewarded in the opportunities that would otherwise be reserved for partners. So you're already being rewarded. Whilst you think of it as a responsibility and an obligation, why should I do this? You're actually already being rewarded with the opportunity to lead. And this opportunity is the skill set that's going to launch your next trajectory. So we can either treat you as employees, right, and say, want to keep you captive in your own mind that you are not supposed to do this. The number of people that tell me, and I always laugh of it, and I understand because we are brainwashed to think that way. I don't want to do this because I want to just focus on learning civil procedure. I just want to focus that. I want to learn this. The world has evolved in a very different way that we are better off actually looking at things in a more holistic sense. There's no such thing as, I just want to just focus on civil procedure. It doesn't work that way. You're going to be left behind if you do not pick up at the same time the relevant skills. The number of people that are that have that attitude and say, I just want to be a great lawyer, I just want to focus on this. And then when it comes to the time when they expect to be a partner of the firm, they feel they've sacrificed their life, they've contributed so many articles to the law firm, right? And then their partners in that firm hesitate to make the person a partner because I'm not sure whether he can bring in work or not. And all that time, during that time, yes, let's concentrate on civil procedure, let's concentrate on technical stuff. And when it boils down to making somebody a partner, they kind of like very simple questions. Can he carry himself? Can he bring in work that will justify his existence, right? And this is the stuff that we hear all the time. And somebody is made a partner, then the other partners are not happy. Oh, he's not bringing in work, he's not carrying himself. Yeah, he has never been taught to. He's never been taught to do that. All of a sudden, you give him a partnership label, and then you say, okay, you have to do this. So for me, I was thinking that this is the truth. At the end of the day, this is what you're going to face. Nobody's going to say to you, oh, fantastic, Nicholas, your civil procedure is so super. We are going to make you a partner because of that. It will say, Nicholas, your civil procedure is very good. Perhaps you could take a writing assignment in University of Malaya to be an academic, right? So the point is, in the business sense of it, people don't realize the decision process is slightly different. And so I want to make sure that you guys know that this is what it is. And I'm not saying everybody wants to be a partner of a law firm or want to do this. You might have the realization, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to run a business unit. I know exactly what I don't want to do. And then traject your career in a different way. And that's very legitimate. So I think it's hands-on. Next question.
Hi, Matthew. I just want to ask, don't you think that making first year or second year associates as business unit leaders will place responsibility on them that is more detrimental to the firm than beneficial?
No. So I suppose when we do these things that allow a person to run a business unit, why is it that we are suddenly thinking that the risk management is suddenly taken away? I think it will mean that the firm will have to employ more stringent risk management. You're talking about risk management. So what that means is, quite apart from doing work, he's leading a team. He's accountable for what is happening to the team. That's a human resource delegation, mentoring people. So that is, to me, less of a risk management issue than to get associates who otherwise say, not my job to mentor the younger ones. My job is to go and learn civil procedure. That's what I want to do here. I don't care about others. Whereas what we are doing here is to say, that's your job, to mentor the pupil, to mentor the people. So that's actually, people think that part is a risk issue. I find that's a training issue that's good for the firm. Now let's look at the technical part of it, right? How does it change? Nothing changes. What? The partners are still overseeing the work. It actually provides the fact that your first draft better be of a certain standard so that the partners can come in and help you. And that all those things got to be sifted during the 9 months. The way you think, the way you're able to produce a draft, your first draft should work. And your limitations of experience will be added by the partners looking at your draft, knowing that you're going to achieve a certain standard. But what the partners are going to come is, I'm going to take your 60% and get it to 80%. Right? So I think the risk management is, it doesn't mean that the business unit is given a carte blanche to do whatever they want to do. The process of authorization of things and risk management is still the same. Partners will have to approve the work. Partners will have to vet the work. But a lot of the leadership or training will have to be taken up. So the expectations are going to be different. So in terms of solicitors' work, the expectation is that pupil is trained to be able to produce a first draft in a technically competent manner. Now that technically competent manner may not be a draft that a very experienced person can do. But that's okay. That's where the partners come in. The partners will know that your first draft works technically, but maybe the approach, the strategy, needs to be inputted. What I see is partners vetting through the whole affidavit, checking through the whole affidavit. I don't think that's the way I want to go. I think that if we pass somebody pupillage, they got to be competent, right? And sometimes asking the right questions. If somebody came with an affidavit to me, I never read it first. I ask 3 questions, which from those 3 questions, I already know whether you know what you're talking about. So, and that's the training that I want to give. If you cannot answer these 3 questions, I don't care that your affidavit is like 20 pages long and you work so hard on it, right? I won't even bother looking at it. So you'll be starting to train that you have to take the responsibility of making sure you're technically competent and right. So yes, the training during pupillage is going to be extremely important. So, and of course the risk management means that just because your business unit doesn't mean we give you the authority to give an undertaking. That needs a partner's approval. So we have to be much more structured. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything that we give you the right to give an undertaking. Only partners can do that. There's certain things only partners can do. So the risk management structures are still with the partners. Okay? So I think the answer to that question is that the partners are still signing off. Partners are still approving, but in a different way. Right? It's not like, here's the affidavit on your tray. I hope it's okay. Here's the affidavit. I'm guaranteeing that this first draft is technically sound. I may not know how to approach paragraph 23 and 24, but I'm good. And so in order to have this system, the training has got to be good. What's the next question?
Hi, Matthew. My question is, what are the supporting factors and necessities required to make a business unit led by a young lawyer sustainable and profitable?
So I worked out my own formula, and you know the numbers. So what I do, I always work with numbers. I find that a unit needs to have 2 young lawyers. In order for the work to flow well, you need at least 2 lawyers. So it could be a lawyer and pupil, or a second-year lawyer and a first-year lawyer, but you work in pairs. Then I also think a basic unit needs to be supported by 2 paralegals and 1 litigation secretary. That's like a complete business unit. From a work process, what everybody's supposed to do is complete. That's my first, when I calculated it, in order to work, that's like a unit. The partners anyway already doing, bringing the work. So it's not a situation where the business units are starting from the perspective they are supposed to attract work themselves. That's unrealistic for associates who are running the business unit to think that they are expected to bring in the work. Okay? So the partners will have a little bit more time to attract work. For example, if you're running a business unit and you have a certain everybody has got a certain speciality. You know, some people are good at working on one file for the whole week, right? Because that's their pace. They go into detail work, and so that business unit can take up that kind of work. Some people are good at quick turnaround. The clients expect the turnaround to be faster. Then it goes to another business unit. So the partners understand when they have different business units, how they're going to channel the work. The business unit will have a tier. First, no expectations of bringing any work. 2, as you go along the ladder and become a senior associate, then there is a certain value that is attached to say that you must be able to attract this amount of work, and your track record must be able to do that. Now, attracting work is a methodology by itself, and so the faster that you start, the better you will be at it. But what will happen is when you run a business, you're very clear about the fact that how targets are set, why the business units are in this minimum fashion, what resources you have, how you're going to use those resources to produce the final product. That's why it's important that we do this. Otherwise, if you don't work in this kind of unit, you don't have the power to rearrange resources. When a partner asks you something, okay, I want you to get this done. I want you to get this done. And if you're the only person getting it done, you can imagine it will be inefficient. You don't know how to juggle it. You don't have, okay, we have these deadlines as against to business opportunities for new work. How do we juggle this? When you do this business units, a lot more efficient. So you will learn this as you do it, because you realize that your scoreboard is ticking, and you will learn how come Su Hui is able to put marks on the board and I haven't. That's your first learning. Then you'll talk to Su Hui and you start learning, oh, this is how she puts marks on the board. Let's say on a financial basis, how come? What is it that she does that you look at her and say, well, technically we are kind of like the same competence, but she's like pulling away so much financially. What does he have that I don't? And then that person will be able to share that. So that's how we learn. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Following on from the first question, so my question to you is, if associates are put in charge of leading business units, do you think that there will be an overload of their tasks at hand?
So, maybe the third principle I talked about too, right? The third one I learned from Jack Ma, who says that your real growth is going to come outside your actual work that you do. So, then the answer to your question is, can you afford for yourself? Can you afford not to do this? So if I give you a lot of work to do, I'm just making you a worker of this firm, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to grow. It means that you work very hard. But if you are given the opportunities, like now, you're asked to do a webinar, you're asked to do an article, you're now asked to do some leadership positions, right? That is the part that's going to make you grow much faster than the technical work that you're doing. For us employers, we obviously want to treat you like slaves, right? We just say if we wanted to make you work like a dog, that would be best because we feel our return on investment immediate is so good, right? And when an employer says, I also want you to do this and do that, what it means is that our immediate ROI is going to be dropped and we are investing in your future. And most law firms will say, why do we want to invest in people? Because after 1 year, they'll leave you anyway. So I think if you don't think of it that way, if you stop thinking of investment in anybody as, I invest in you what for? Tomorrow you're going to leave. So if you have that attitude, then you will just say, I don't invest in you. You just work like a dog for me. Right? So actually, when a law firm provides opportunities for you to do other things, you should be thankful. Because then at least you can negotiate with the firm to say, hey boss, you also asked me to do this and this, not just work. So the volume of your work cannot be so much that I cannot do the other obligations that I've taken on. Now I know you guys are going to say that's all bullshit, right? Because we just pile on anyway. But the point is you need to have a voice to say, hey, you know what, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do this. So the volume of work that you throw on me it's not working. How can you help? That's a conversation. So this is a good conversation to have with your boss, right? Imagine if the boss just says, you just do work, don't talk so much. Right? That's super beneficial for the employer in the short term, who has this idea, anyway, you're not going to be a partner of this firm. Anyway, you're going to go. And the truth is, 90% of the people that here won't be here in 5 years' time. That's the truth, right? But if I had that attitude and say, all of you are not going to be here, so I don't even bother about this, then we're not contributing. So I look at it as like, So once you have this mindset, right, it doesn't matter whether you are going to be here, but you're going to be somewhere, you're going to contribute to the world. So the answer to your question is, you must welcome employers who give you other things to do, so that you can negotiate and say, thank God, don't give me so much work because I got other things to do, right? So, but I hear, so that's why I always think when I just want to work, actually, you're working against yourself. If you say that, if the firm gives you opportunities to lead, to learn other things, to go and do other stuff, those learning is so, everybody is doing the same thing. What if you are doing civil procedure, civil, all learning the same thing? It's like 17,000 lawyers doing the same thing. But the little bit of leadership, the little bit of learning takes you a long way. So I hope that answers the question. Any more questions? You look like you're genuinely interested in this answers, huh?
Okay, so from a client's perspective, how do you propose to deal with clients who prefer to work with the partners directly instead of young lawyers in charge of their own units?
No, this actually allows a better opportunities for the clients to have face-to-face with the partners, because they'll free up more time, and those are important things to free up. So what happens is the clients will be educated to know that the level of this work is quite standard, pulling together the facts. You don't need a rocket scientist to work out what the facts are. Of course, there's supervision about the kind of facts we're looking at, for example. Clients need to be educated. So the clients can be educated in a very simple way, which is like, I'll say to the client, 2,000 an hour for me to find out the facts, or 250 for Nicholas to find out the facts. Which one you want? They will straight away know who they will pick, right? They'll say, Nicholas looks like a competent guy. He's not stupid. So then that's the supervisory role. You get him to do the facts, I will supervise him. So we have to educate the client as well, that certain things are done cheaper, but ultimately the direction of getting the facts, the strategy will have to come from the partner. The clients need to feel that. So the partners have more time to demonstrate that. You know, if the partners are pretending, actually most work is done by juniors anyway, right? So if the partners are pretending as if they are doing the work and not being they're doing everything and pretending, right? They are not going to come across well when they go for meetings and suddenly, right, there's certain things they don't know about. I think honesty is important. So I try to say, hey, listen, I'll handle the court case in court. I'll handle the strategy. I'm happy to actually draft this thing at 2,000 an hour, or Nicholas is at 250 an hour. Which do you prefer? Then they have a choice. But I can come in when he's done the first cut, and I'll try and brainstorm. I'll try to use my experience to say, hey, Nicholas, what about this? What about that? What about this? So we keep our energies in the right place, right? So that's kind of why I think Nicholas will be much better off running. I will lose momentum anyway. I can't concentrate. If I'm asked to do just fact gathering the whole day on one file, I'll lose my energy. But if I'm supported by Nicholas, it will bring the best out of me, because after 1 hour, I'll call, hey, Nicholas, what did you find? Then I'll put an input. And hopefully my 1 minute or 2 minutes of interaction with him will even spur him to more. So the final result for the client is much better. Right? The client knows that if we have competent, good people working on the foundation of it, and the partners are focused on strategy, winning the case, being in court, making the final say this way or that way, they know that the partner has a pulse of the case, right? Because after, say, Nicholas drafts everything, I'll look at it, I'll talk with him, I'll chat with him. I need to be on top of it in order to make the client feel that, hey, did you just give it to Nicholas and you don't know anything about it? So it's about management of the client, management of what's going to be done. It's important. It's difficult sometimes because some clients don't know that. Some clients think that only the partners must do everything from A to Z. And then some partners want to pretend as if they're doing A to Z. So I try not to. I try to be. Sometimes it's difficult because the clients get a bit annoyed. You're leaving it this to your junior. So then you have to explain. And hopefully it works. I work with client who accepts that. Those who don't accept, what to do, right? It's just one of those things. It's like you're not. I mean, when you're a dying bed, you're going to die also, right? Still, the nurse is still injecting you, right? It's like when you're dying also. It's not like the consultant surgeon coming. Oh, this drip I'll put myself. No, right? You'll say, I think we'll change the drip. Okay, bye bye. Hopefully you survive. No, I'm saying that it's about setting expectations. All right. That's it. One more.
So, I mean, you already asked questions about whether the lawyers can handle workload and also doing business unit. But from a dollar and cents perspective, if what you're doing works and the partners can bring in more business and all that, that's still a higher volume of work. So, is there any way in which this structure that you're proposing can also account for that, right? That there's more work coming in, but there's a way to for the associates, for the lawyers to balance when doing that, as opposed to them just drowning even more under more work?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. Very few people I know, right? Very few partners I know will say no to work. And the reason is we, especially like firms like us, right? We're not a firm that's got institutional work, right? We don't know when the next work is going to come from. So we're just geared that way to say that if that work comes, we'll take it. And I think we need to be resourced properly. We need to stop abuse from the client. Some of the clients abuse in the sense that unnecessary meetings and discussions. Maybe the partners can be a little bit more disciplined about that. I'm also guilty entertaining some clients who talk so much, even unnecessarily, that it will drain us so much, right? Then there's clients who don't pay, and when those clients don't pay, because we need money, we get more work. So this is an ongoing, like a vicious cycle. And I think the fundamentals of this is about cash flow management. It's about being very strict about credit. So it's so for example, if you have a law firm that slightly different from ours, like ours is very we're not on a panel or anybody. We don't know that next month somebody's going to give us 10 pieces of work, right? So we are geared to survive. And the byproduct of that is all the partners are, okay, get job, as long as we're paid, we're going to move forward. Because we don't know when's our next job. But you all suffer, because the partners are not saying, oh no, we are actually really, really full up. I don't think we can take this on. None of the partners will say that, because we're all in this siege mentality. I'm going to take it on, and I'll find, actually, you guys are the ones who get no worries, we can put it tomorrow, we'll get the first draft. Angeline, I know what you're talking about. Anyway, so I think the longer term, how we're going to solve it, and I'm talking to Jasmine, is we need to put in place a cash flow management plan. We need to put in place a credit plan so that clients who don't pay is managed properly, so that brings more confidence that all the partners in the firm, we know that, hey, projecting forward, we know that we are okay for the next period, so that we can make better choices about new work coming in. Maybe we can collaborate with other law firms. But at this point in time, because we are so afraid that we are not going to get a piece of work, none of the partners are going to say no. If the money is right, we're going to do it. But you guys suffer, right? And then you're wondering, why the hell is the partner still taking on work? So yeah, I understand. So I think it goes to the fundamentals of the money, fundamentals about credit control, then you'll be able to get to this stage where you see ahead. So even though you don't have, so some law firms are very comfortable. They can say, I don't want this work, because they already know that this particular client every month gives them this work. They're able to measure. We don't have that. We don't know what's happening next month, right? So that's why we're under that really aggressive mode or how to survive. I think we can do it. It's going to be the partners. The change has to happen with the partners. Then communications with you guys to say, hey, what's on your plate? And I think that needs to be measured every week. So it's like, what's on your plate? Maybe we can reorganize the timing. It's tough. So I'm working with Jasmine to look at the fundamentals and how we can. So the other thing is the business unit is going to be important. So that's why with the business units, when we expand, right, we've got an extra business unit available that can absorb work, right, and be a bit more. So so it's like when partners take on the work, they want to take it on for their own team, right? And whether the team has got capacity, no capacity, will take it on first. Because the partner doesn't know whether, I don't know whether I'm going to get another job. So you just do it. What needs to happen is maybe collaboration. Okay, Nicholas, I know you're really tough. Maybe you can work with Sean and we collaborate on this work. We need to talk a lot more about that. Yeah, so there's pressure at the top that's seeping down to the bottom. The pressure at the top is the partners need to meet their billing targets, need to meet the collection targets. And so when the work comes along, they never say, oh, actually, there's full capacity. And so you guys suffer. Hopefully hopefully with this idea that I have with business units, we are able, we don't feel so that we're going to lose the opportunity. We'll say, if these business units are running well, sometimes maybe we just have to say no. We say, can you do it? Can your business unit? Can you do it? So maybe that kind of communication needs to happen. Right? The way it's structured is all partners will feel that they need to grab that job. Yeah? And you guys suffer. Do you feel like you're suffering? Yeah. Sometimes. Huh? Sometimes. Too much work. Okay, I suppose expectations-wise, what are you expecting? How many hours are you expecting to work in a week? Naveen, how many hours are you expecting to work in a week? What will make you happy?
I'd say it depends. It really depends. Maybe a week, the day it's probably 9 to 7, 9 to 8. So 50 hours?
50 hours a week? Nicholas?
50 hours sounds reasonable depending on where we are.
Sean? So, you know how we will revolutionize the workplace? Demand overtime for lawyers. And then the partners will adjust accordingly. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure you guys all get paid overtime because the economics will take care of itself. Right? Right now, it will be very rude for Nicholas to say, I want to charge overtime for this. Right? Because the structure is such. You work like a dog, lah. Who cares, right? But imagine that we have an overtime structure. Not as to me, right? Not a single one of you will abuse it. That's how I am confident. But the way management is driven, management will think that lawyers are going to abuse it. They'll sit on their ass on Tuesday and then on Saturday they're going to make an overtime claim. But I don't believe any one of you would do it. Right? Anyone would do. But what will happen is, if you charge overtime, right, and you say that anything beyond 50 hours is going to have a claim, you know what will happen? All your partners will manage and make sure you don't work more than 50 hours. And that is why I am demanding that we make sure the lawyers are paid overtime. Because it's not a stretchable resource, right? Partners like me will forget about you. We think about getting the work. We don't have an impact, one. You're not charging us overtime, man. So we just throw you and make it just until you break sometimes, right? But if we are saying, if you guys just say, well, if you throw in more than 50 hours, we're just going to get a bill from, you know what will happen? Everybody will work in a proper structure. And they will realize that's limited, not unlimited resources. And they will plan. All the partners automatically will plan. And that's what I want to advocate. Because until that happens, we think of lawyers as unlimited resources. Okay, some of us compassionate lah. Me, generally I'm not. Isn't it? I forget that you all actually you have limited time. I just say, no, just do. Like Angeline, chasing her down. Yeah? Just do. I don't care what you have to do. Just get it done for me. So maybe we will learn. So the solution to your problem, in our situation, that all of us agree charge overtime. Then the partners will modify their behavior. Straight away, they will come and talk to you. Nicholas, okay, this work you do next week. No need to charge overtime. Within your next block of 50 hours. Otherwise, we don't care actually. Not don't care. I won't say don't care. We're driven, right? So we don't necessarily see your problem, You understand what I'm trying to say? We are not in tune with your problem. We just say, Nicholas, okay, I've done that to you so many times, right? Hey, I want the red Monday client coming in. I want to get it done. In between, I don't care what your problem is, that you got multiple deadlines, right? But I think if you're going to charge me overtime, right, I will have to think also. I will have to think. I will have to address my mind. There's a possibility that if I push this guy, I'm going to be charged overtime, and I have to make a business decision about it. Well, I'll just say, hey, Nicholas, you can't do it, right? Okay, I get Sean in because he's got capacity. I don't want to pay overtime. Then everybody works on this really good skill. So I'm hoping that we will. So wait, what do you think? Is that a good idea? You charge overtime straight away, partners are going to give you any extra work. Agreed? What do you think, Nicholas? Do you agree with me?
I agree, but as with overtime everywhere else, there will be small issues to iron out, but in principle, yes.
Overtime everywhere else, what do you mean?
As in, sometimes employees get pressured to not claim overtime, even though they did work overtime, or things like that. Or the employee feels bad, they feel like they've not been working as efficiently as they should, so they also don't claim overtime.
I think it will level off, So there will be a period in which there are inefficiencies, and those who are inefficient will lose their jobs. It's going to, actually, what you think about it, right? The moment you introduce overtime, it will be slightly more stressful for you guys. But the payoff in the long term is good. Slightly more stressful is because they'll start looking. Don't you think that in your 40 hours you should be able to produce more? Why are you in these 40 hours only producing this? Nobody's looking at it at the moment, right? So the slight stress is that. Now, their variations are different people at different times in their life can produce different things. So for example, in your 40 hours, you produce X. Sean produces Y. The variations in between. And partners must learn to recognize that you've done your best. That's what and we accept that. There's only this minimum threshold. You know what I mean? You cannot put, because the best guy can produce this, everybody must produce that. That's be very unrealistic. We have to accept that everybody has got different strengths and be able to do that. That's why I just don't have any qualms about paying overtime, because I know nobody is going to make an overtime claim for the sake of overtime claim, right? But all the partners will adjust their behavior and relook and see what's the productivity level. If the productivity level of a particular lawyer drops below what the market expects, they need to have a conversation. What is happening? How can we help you? Right? Oh, gee, actually, your problem is you don't have a litigation secretary. You're spending so much time just going through stuff that other people. So all this attention will be paid into it. They will look at it. Otherwise, to be told, it's your problem. You sort it out. Partners just want the final result. They don't care about your problems. I mean, we have our own problems, so we forget about you. So we just say, I want this because we're under pressure to make money. Clients are expecting us, so we forget about you in the process. So it's not a deliberate mean thing. It's just a byproduct of the way things are run. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to finish off. I hope I've shared something. Thank you very much for joining, and I will see you next week, 3 o'clock. And thank you. Why you look so serious?